Ladies and gentlemen, live from our Jenkem Studios in North Hollywood, California, in Studio A. This is Talk with Philly G. Check it out. It's me, Philly G. Let's turn off the music. Look at that. This is Talk with Philly G. I'm your host, Philly G. Thank you for being here. We have a live broadcast, as I said, from North Hollywood, California at the Argentum Studios. And we are very honored today to have a special guest. Her name is Janora Mcduffie. Let's bring her in. Are we here? Yes, we are. There we are.
Hey, how you doing, Philly G? I love your energy.
Oh, man, I am super excited. Look at that. I am super excited to be here because you are here today.
Well, I'm excited to be here with you in your virtual studio. Thank you for having me.
Yes, Hollywood movie magic, isn't it?
I'm special.
Oh, yes. I know I'm special because one time my mom told me so. So I'm like, I'll take it.
It absolutely makes it true. Don't let anybody say any different, Philly G.
Exactly, right? Thank you very much for being on the show. I asked you kind of not in a panic, but like in an urgent kind of, hey, we need to do this right away, right? Because of what's happening right now. Number one, we'll talk about three things, right? We're going to talk about you as an actress, as a professional. We're going to talk about Black Lives Matter. And then we're also going to talk about Kamala.
Hey, right? Hey, that's my girl. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, in no particular order, we'll start with you because the whole purpose of this show is to introduce our community to creative professionals, right? Actors, musicians, artists, whatever. And we want to learn about your talent. And then we want to learn how you're grinding, right? How are you getting by? How are you making your profession, your professional career go? Like, I think that's what people could really learn from. And then, of course, we'll talk somewhat about Black Lives Matter and how, from my perspective, you have your show and that's kind of like the inside track into, perhaps your it's called Black People Shit. Can I just say the word, right?
Please do. We are all grown in this room. So
right.
Yes,
and so that implies like we're on the inside of a certain culture, right?
Yes.
Of your culture. And then we'll talk about Kamala Harris, which is super exciting. But there's some controversy. And so we'll talk about those things. But let's start with you.
Let's start with me.
Right. So you are now you're a California transplant native. Is that right?
Yes. I mean, I don't know what the length of time is before you have to give up being from somewhere. I'm not a spring chicken in these LA streets. I've actually been here. Oh, Philly G, can you believe it'll be 2 decades this November? The only reason I can keep up is because I moved in the year 2000 right after Thanksgiving. But I'm originally from Durham, North Carolina. All day I represent the Bull City. I love where I'm from. Really informs who I am as a person. I went to University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill.
Yes.
And then after that, I moved to Atlanta. So still a Southern girl in the roots. And then my dream started calling. And I've been in LA ever since.
So you were in North Carolina and you were quite accomplished and awarded at school, weren't you?
I was. I definitely have had a blessed journey up to this point, especially back home. So I attended the North Carolina School of Science and Math. So I'm a secret nerd. That was a boarding school that you had to apply to go to. It was free from the state, but it was for students gifted in math and science. Yeah. And then I attended University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill as a Moorhead Kane Scholar, which is pretty good shit. And it's, I mean,
I would say so.
It's so interesting because I'm a very humble person. So all these things I usually don't talk about very much, but I am thrilled to talk about them with you today, Philly G, because one thing that I have learned about moving to Los Angeles are the things that I felt has made me just special and stand out, like the Moorhead Kane Scholarship.
Yeah.
Nobody knows about and nobody cares about in LA. Like LA is a place you can come from nothing and reinvent yourself and be flashy silver gold the next day and nobody would know the difference. So whether it's my education, whether it's my travel and my family, my awards, those type of things, I got here and they just held no currency. The currency was who you knew. how big your titties were, what you wore, what party you went to, and all of those things.
Yes.
You know, I'm a country Bama girl. My best outfit, they laughed at me because I was matching too much.
Hey, that's
So
not a bad thing. I'm not hating on the matching outfit, right? I'll tell you that right now.
But it was definitely growing pains when I did
Yeah.
move here, because I really just thought that what made me special, like, oh, just LA, watch out. And here I am 20 years later, not quite in the shoes that I thought I was going to be in. But I think that's part of the growth, is just allowing life to be what it is, and being grateful along the way, and taking the lessons and the blessings, but still keeping hope alive. Because I'm still here, damn it. Yes.
I'll tell you what. It's really refreshing to hear your story. Like, you know, perhaps like all our stories, well, I'm a native here, but I mean, for the people who come out here, it might not be unique as such, right? Because people find their way out here for a lot of reasons, probably because they have like a creative spirit that's just calling you to like this mecca of a place where you can exercise whatever it is you have inside you, right? But being a Southern girl and coming out and just bringing that with you, we are the sum of all of our experiences, right? And so when you say that, you know, you went to school and you were a nerd, that brings a lot to bear, because professionally that helps you get ahead, right? Having that, you know, that ability to bear down and to study hard and to learn something that's not even acting related. Isn't that right?
That is true. Grit has a lot to do with it. Hanging in there, sticking in there, knowing how to work hard, knowing how to grind. I really feel like that has helped my longevity in this marathon.
Yes. Yeah. And the longevity, that's a great word. So you mentioned you've been out here 2 decades, since the year 2000. Wow. That is an accomplishment. It's not something to look back and go like, oh, you know, you've been here too long. Like that is a notch in your belt.
Absolutely. 20 years and no porn, no drugs.
Yeah. Well, okay. You haven't been going to enough parties, obviously. Go ahead.
Apparently not. But there are lots of traps and dangers out here, especially, you know, for the new girl in town. So I am still standing, and my own 2 feet, my own mental health. Now, my dad loves to tell the joke about, you can go crazy, but just make sure you get a round trip ticket back. So I've just been buying round trip tickets. I ain't saying that
there you go.
Crazy, but they always are a round trip ticket.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that you are where you are. And we'll go on the personal, let me say to anybody who's watching, if you want to enter a comment and say hi and say we're doing a good job and that Janora looks beautiful and you have a question for her, please do. You're more than welcome to participate in this show.
Absolutely. And so I am sharing it to my homepage right now. That's what I was trying to do a little bit earlier, but my whole multitasking tech skills are a little limited, but I just did it right now. So
that's great. Yeah, we of course we love audience participation. So you're in North Carolina, and then you're like, okay, you're right. Let's go out west. How does that even happen? How's that thought come into your head?
Sure. Well, I've always been drawn to the arts. At University of North Carolina, I had a concentration in performance studies, but with my scholarship and the things I was involved in, I actually got a job. I got a job offer my first semester of my senior year, doing exciting things with a good paycheck in Atlanta. So that's what took me to Atlanta. Okay. So being a broke college student, all of a sudden your first semester, you got your job offer. I'm not thinking about moving to LA. I'm thinking about wearing this suit to work and having my own place. Yes. But when I got to Atlanta and got into the corporate structure, it was just not a fit for my dreams and my heart. So I decided to quit and move to LA. But let me tell you what happened that I felt was a sign that I was on the right track. I told 2 people that I wanted to quit and move to LA. I told the guy that hired me, he said, I think that's a fantastic idea. I support your dreams. Let me give you 2 of my contacts. One of them was a writer for the Parkers and the other was a writer for the Jamie Foxx show. Wow. The writer for and both of them put me on as an extra to get my union card. So that's how I was able to get to the union. And I got in right away as soon as I moved. The second person I told was the woman who was assigned to be my counselor. I said, I'm going to quit. I'm going to move to LA. She said, don't quit. Let me transfer you to the Los Angeles office, because the corporation I was working for is a global corporation, and they had a Los Angeles office. So I actually moved here with a job, which is such a blessing, especially when it comes to finding an apartment and getting set up. Not starting off living in my car, but
beauty and brains. I mean, wow. That's amazing.
And angels and people who supported me and believed in me along the way.
Right? That's great. So you get to LA. Now you're still working for the corporation. Was that a financial management company? Is that what it was?
It was a consulting firm.
Okay.
It was a Big 5 consulting firm that's still located downtown.
In a big building.
In a big old skyscraper.
Yeah.
How I got finally free.
Yes.
The market was changing.
Yeah.
So actually, I was going to get laid off whether I moved or did not, because that's just how things were changing with my job.
Sure.
But I am so blessed that I took the leap of faith before the axe came down and had already settled out here. So the funny part, though, Philly G, is I just knew that with the amount of time in my severance, who needs a job? They about to find me. My career is about to pop off in this, because all I need is this year, right? All I need is a year, somebody financially supporting me. So I ran through all my savings in that 1 year. And another beautiful lesson learned, another layer of stories and thicker skin that I grew.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so at that time, you're 2000, you come out here, you're working for a big company. You're introduced to Jamie Foxx, right?
Yes, I did meet Jamie Foxx at that time.
Yeah, I mean, Jamie's the man. That's it, period. I love him. I love his abilities. I think his acting, his musical ability, like, dude, like, what else could you want?
Yeah, he's crazy talented.
Yeah, and so that's a blessing right there, right? We talked about that. And then
absolutely.
And then you got to start your career. You actually have to start putting yourself out there to get roles. But did you feel like you had to educate yourself on the craft of acting?
I am so happy that you asked that question. So I had taken courses all along, and yes, I jumped into acting classes. But what I really needed to educate myself on, though, Philly G, was how this entertainment world worked.
Right.
Who are the casting directors?
Yes.
Where are these studios? What do they do? How does each member of this big entertainment industry fit together, and how do they work, and how does that apply to me? So when I moved to town, I actually joined this organization called the Actors Network. It was in North Hollywood at the time, and it was such a blessing in my learning process, but learning the business, and also meeting other people who were new to town, but also hungry and wanted to learn. So that was probably the best thing that happened to me. And in terms of first finding roles, one thing that happened with the Actors Network is they sometimes hooked up their members with internships. So I actually interned for CFB casting and Bialy Thomas casting when I first moved to town, or when I first joined the organization and first realized I was broke and I needed to figure out what I was going to do in my life.
Right. You burned through all that money. Now you're like, I got to get going here.
Yeah, but it was through those relationships and understanding the business and knowing the people that I got my first shot. So my first ever on-roll TV performance was Firefly, and that was through CFB Casting. And Firefly was this underground, hardcore, fan-based show. And I appeared in a universe and 5th episode, I believe. And it was so exciting to the point that my roommate and I threw a big party to showcase my first TV role. It was during the World Series, and it did not come on that day. So we just had a whole bunch of people over for no reason. But it still, again, is a beautiful story and a testament to celebrate everything. Because I think it was only a couple lines. But you have to celebrate everything along the way, or else it'll just dry up your soul.
No doubt, no doubt. So, like I said, on the show, we want to do a couple things, right? Two things specifically. We want to learn about you, right? We want to be introduced to you. We want to learn about your talents, right? Your acting talent. Anyone could go to your IMDb page. We're not going to go down the whole list, but anybody could go there and look. But we're talking about Grey's Anatomy, and you have some really strong credits there. And we're talking about a 20-year, a 20-year list of a body of work, which is amazing. And I think that goes to show what we were talking about. There's your talent, and then there's the grind. How are you getting by? How do you get that? How do you get your hustle on? And I think it's through what I'm hearing from you. It's through relationships and work ethic. What do you think?
Relationships, work ethic, and two more I'll add. Your tribe and your ability to get back up.
Okay.
So relationships, yes, whether it's this industry or any other industry, it's so much about who you know. I just talked about my first role was through who I knew through my internship. My second and third role was Bialy Thomas casting. I did an episode of The Unit where I played this woman in the elevator who wanted to go back up to the elevator or in the elevator, but they shut the whole building down because of a bomb scare. And even lied to me. So there's several things I can point to on my IMDb page that are definitely and directly related to relationships I have. So yes, nurture those relationships, make them and nurture them, and be genuine about them.
Yeah.
The second thing you said, work ethic. It's not going to come to you. You have to go after it. And it's about working smart, knowing that the places to find information and the community. So that was number 3, the tribe. Yeah. So much of who you are and your success has to do with your relationships of the people who surround you. What do they say? You're the sum of the 5, your 5 closest friends. Yeah. So if your 5 friends ain't doing nothing, find some new friends. Find people in the places that are going to where you're in the direction that you want to go. And in addition to that, not just in terms of their own resume, but their heart resume. Are they positive people? Because I swear there are pity parties on every corner here in Hollywood. So how do you find the people who are encouraging or who see you when you don't see yourself? And that goes into number 4, as in getting back up. Because Hollywood, you gonna fall down. Several times. And even when you think you've made it, like let's just say, Philly G, I finally got my series regular role. It could be that thing where I get the series regular, but they don't pick up the series. Or they replace my character. Look at that. Yay. We got to hashtag that. That's right. And that was off the dome. No, it was actually 20 years in the heart that I've learned these things. Yes. But how do you get back up when things don't go as you planned? Or when things like you were really hoping for something or you really worked hard for something and it didn't pan out? So for example, my own example, you talked about my Grey's Anatomy. I was on 6 episodes. I was part of the storyline. My character arc was with the number 1 and the 2 on the call sheet. I thought that was it for me, Philly G. Like I thought that was my big break. And when it didn't happen, I really did go into a dark place because I just didn't understand how the business worked. I thought A plus B equals C, but in Hollywood, it definitely does not. And that, it was very hurtful.
Look at this. Can we show some of your photos?
Sure, we can. These are 3 other fantastic, fabulous brown actresses in the game. Yes. Tangerine, Christy Ferris, and Karen Ward Ross, fantastic actresses, fantastic entrepreneurs, and also hostesses with their own show. So I personally work with Christy Ferris on Black People Shit.
Wait, Tangerine. You mean this?
Oh yeah, that right there. So we had a reunion show, and we hadn't talked about quarantine yet, but we are talking about times when you're down and getting back up. Quarantine time. Everybody's down because nothing's happening in the industry. Yeah. I woke up one morning and I said, we should do a reunion show. So the first picture that you shot up there with the 4 beautiful.
Let me put that back up.
Yes, that was 10 years ago.
Okay.
And ladies and gentlemen, no airbrushing. Yes, a sister is thick and loving my curves. That's not the point. The point is that we broke up. Went our own separate ways, and maybe about 8 years ago, I woke up and I said we should do a reunion show. So when we did our union show. Everyone joined in. It was a very powerful, beautiful show. And from that, we all decided to kind of do our own thing. Now, Tangerine, to her credit, had been doing her thing. She has a show on Tuesdays and Thursdays that streams live on Facebook and YouTube. She's always had a ton of followers. She's doing her thing there. Karen started doing a show called Meditations, which is all about the journey and your soul, and interviews folks. That's on Wednesdays at noon. And Christy and myself, Christy had a show that she started called Black People Shit. And so she decided to reboot it and added me as her recurring guest. So that's what we do every Wednesday at 4 p.m. And what's so crazy about that journey, Philly G, is that we started Black People Shit the week that George Floyd was murdered. So it wasn't a purposeful thing, but man, did we have some Black people shit to talk about after that. So
I'm telling you,
it's been some really heavy, really important topics that we cover.
I don't know how to spell the word segue, but you just gave us some segue right there. And since you are so smart, perhaps it starts with a S or a C. We're going to segue into some of the things that you just brought up, right? So current topics, current events, George Floyd. Of course, he's not the only one. He is one of the more recent ones, even after George, right? I mean, the police are still doing things that they should not be doing. It's really brought a focus into how Black people are treated in the country, not only, I mean, generally, but by police, and actually being killed. I mean, murdered. I don't know how strong of a word you're willing to go. I don't want to put words in your mouth. How do you feel about, let's transition a little bit to Black Lives Matter. And why don't you tell me from your perspective, you see the emotional outpouring, you see so many people in the streets, to protest this violence against Black people. How are you seeing the whole thing? How is it playing out now that we're a little bit down the road from the actual event itself?
The pause is for the weight of the moment and the movement and all that is going on right now. And I do believe it is not just for this moment. There has been power that has come out of the murder, and I have no hesitation of that coming out of my mouth to describe what happened to George Floyd. And it has been right on time and needed, and in the most ironic way, beautiful. It's not just Black folks in the street. It is Black, it is white, it is brown, it is yellow, and it is international. It's not just here in the United States. We are waking up all over the world to see and to acknowledge just the travesty of the history of brown people in this country. I think it is time. And I'm so happy that it is affecting every single industry where people are questioning and waking up to realize that, you know what? It's not even just in the justice system, which is a glaring part of all of this, but even here in the entertainment industry, like who are the gatekeepers and the power keepers, and where are the brown people and the Black people in that conversation? And people saying, you know what, let's open up the door, let's acknowledge this, let's change the system. So a global movement to right many wrongs. And we still have a long way to go. But man, Philly G, I am so happy that this is starting. And I think about the civil rights movement in the 60s. Black folks have been treated, I mean, there's no word in my vocabulary to describe Jim Crow, to describe slavery. But in the 60s, it was the invention of TV and TV in the homes of people, so people could see with their own eyes what was happening in the community. And then that's when white folks came together to join and say, we have to stop this. I will use the same analogy with George Floyd. It was the first time we saw with our own eyes how hideous there are of circumstances that happen between Black people and the police community. Now, my words and my thoughts are what's the right word? I don't want to necessarily say tempered, because I don't want you to think I am mad, Philly G, or I'm not passionate. but I feel like I am balanced because my wife is a police officer.
Oh.
I don't know if you knew that.
I don't know that.
So in my fight, I don't have room to hate the police or to hate white people because that is my wife.
Right.
So it makes me check the way that I am moving forward to fight the power, because it can't be rooted in that. It has to be rooted in finding solutions and moving forward and not spending time or spending energy in hate, especially when you can't generalize. You can generalize a system, but you have to learn how to take the person out and see the humanity and connect in that space and move forward together. So that's been my lane within Black Lives Matter is I am holding my fist, I'm calling people out, but I'm doing it recognizing that there's humanity all around and that we can't lose it in our fight to move forward. And I also find myself, Philly G, being the translator. For example, within the Black Lives Matter movement, it's the defund the police, defund the police. Well, there are a lot of people that I know, wife and other people included, who might be like, wait, like, what are you talking about, defund the police? But defund the police is all about taking resources and putting them in the community so we can not have, so kids can have other choices other than violence or drugs, or can have mentors and people to look up to if they do come from a broken home. Ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So maybe if we put resources there, we don't have to have such a huge correctional system because we have put it in the places that need it the most. So that was a whole lot I just said, but I feel like for people who don't understand, like I'm that middle person. I'm that middle person that will stand in that space.
This is the exact reason why I had you on today. I think, my background is, although in LA, we're a melting pot here, right? And I'm born and raised here. And so I don't see things the way people from across the country do. I think when you get on, the two coasts, we tend to be a lot more sympathetic. We tend to be a lot more diverse as communities. So we do assimilate better, right? And we embrace cultures a lot better. But I think we are indoctrinated to racism in ways that are so surreptitious, like we don't even know, right? Like you don't even know, like they're training you to be a racist, and yet it's just fun. It's funny. Oh, dude, that movie's funny, bro. Right? Yeah. I mean, they're just making jokes. It's just a joke, isn't it?
Yeah.
No.
And that's why what we do here in the entertainment world is so important, Philly G. Yeah. By the time that police officer gets to working for the police department, or the teacher gets to leading a classroom, she's already been indoctrinated with these images that we put out here in Hollywood of what Black people are like, or what certain groups are like, and you don't even realize it's happening to you, or you're being programmed in that way. That's why stories matter. That's why representation matters. That's why images matter, and that's why what we do here is just critical for whether it's again police reform or just reforming our society to just be more open, more loving, more understanding, less judgmental. And if you're going to judge, let it be based on a full spectrum of true stories, and not just like this one way that movies portray Black folks or fill in the blank.
No, and I think programming is important. I think music, programming, videos, like, coming from the Valley, I'm a Valley dude. I'm so cliche. I grew up with, Moon Zappa and Dweezil and them, if that means anything to anyone. And, we listen to the music and we enjoy it. I'm talking like from a white experience, a kid in the Valley, and we watch it and we enjoy it. But we don't know, we don't really understand the undertones of what's going on there. And I think shows like Cops, it's off the air now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Incredibly destructive show, because like, what are you showing except the police running around chasing people down in backyards and stuff? And, they're chasing brothers, brothers mainly, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that kind of a show, how long was that on the air? Like, just showing and just reinforcing this stereotype that was, I would say, incredibly destructive and adding to a narrative that led to George Floyd.
Agreed. Absolutely.
I think the police officer who had his knee on the neck of George, everybody knows he needs to be personally held responsible and accountable, and he will be.
Absolutely.
But I look at it, I mean, if I could just go off a little bit, I guess it's my show, I can.
You can do whatever you want. It's your world, Philly G.
There was that dude standing right next to him, right? Mm-hmm. And the guy was saying, hey, get off his neck. And that other cop was sitting right there just watching it happen. And like, you're yelling through the TV going, stop it, stop it. And, that really, I think, just represents in such a powerful way, and why we had so many protests, and why it's continuing and it's not stopping. And, in Atlanta, in Detroit, there's still these same issues going on. It's not like it stopped. It's not like everybody said, okay, we need to watch ourselves. We need to be on our best behavior, right? I mean, it's still going on.
Yes. Yes. Now, I think George Floyd's murder has been the most egregious that we have seen since. But there have been some, of course, horrible. Breonna Taylor, we hadn't even brought her up yet. Yeah. Now, I think the key, you talked about the police officer standing next to the police officer with his knee in George Floyd's neck. By the way, I've yet to watch that video. I cannot.
It's difficult.
But what I want to say is, in terms of police reform, accountability is important. So not just accountability for, okay, we are going to hold you responsible, but you are also responsible for your brothers and sisters in uniform as well. So I do think these things are taking place in terms of changing within the system, as in at least putting it down on the books, at least changing some of the rules to change the culture. And I think that's also being seen by police officers calling out their fellow police officers, because I know that they stand very hard and firm within protecting themselves. And so for them to start to call out wrong is wrong, I think is a step in the right direction. We still have a ways to go. But going back to being married to a cop, again, it changes my perspective a bit, because Billy G, I got to ask these hard questions. My wife and I have difficult questions often. Now, it's not always easy, but it's important. And I wish that this space that I say, hey, can you tell me why X, Y, and Z happened? Why did he pull a gun? Why did it go south? Why did he lose his life? Whatever the case may be. I listen back from a space of not wanting to make her wrong, but of really wanting to understand. Yeah. So I feel like we need to find a way to communicate in a way where we understand each other. And I say that because I think from a police standpoint, there are things that we don't realize or we don't know, or things that we haven't seen that inform their decisions or their protocol that they follow. But there's no space for us to see their point because they're dead ass wrong, or them to see our point because, we're disrespectful or don't understand law and order, or whatever the case may be. But there is room, and I am an example of it being able to work, because although I might not agree with everything, I see where change can happen. And I want to be part of being able to be that voice to say, hey, like, for example, I just brought up Breonna Taylor, right?
Yeah. Yep.
The cops have not been arrested who killed Breonna Taylor.
Right.
From what I understand, I would like to be the voice to say, hey, let's change the law that made it legal for them to do that in the first place. And that is something that has happened. We've got the Breonna Taylor law, where they took out the no-knock warrant being able to be served. Yeah, that's a step in the right direction. Granted, the cops still roam free, but let's take it let's take it another layer underneath that, as in let's look at the law. Let's look at the other players that help create this system that have these laws for it to be able to happen, for the police to be able to go in and do that. Like, so there are many layers to this whole systematic racism, the justice system. And I feel like we are so quick just to say it's this, but it's so many. It's the city attorney, it's the district attorney, it's the chief of police, it's the training, it's all of these things. So let's find a way to have the conversation to work together on all of these levels instead of the quick fixes and throw so-and-so in jail. And I'm not saying that I'm not for that. I'm just saying that there are other layers to this very century-old issue that we continue to see manifested in the way folks are policed.
Preach. I mean, you're just centuries, right? We're not talking decade. We're talking like from the
Yes.
we're talking about from
Billy
the
G.
inception. So, you know, I want to go up in the clouds a little bit, literally, spiritually. You know, you talk about Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and he was a big proponent of organized labor, of which you are a part and I am a part, right? In the acting community and in my community as well. We're Teamsters. But he was talking to the trash workers, right? And he was fighting for justice. And in his last speech, right? What was he talking about? He was talking about he's been to the mountaintop, right? His mountaintop speech, and he's seen the other side. And what did he say? He said, I'm not going to get there with y'all, right? He says, I've seen it. I know what we can be. I see how we could be the best that we can be. Unfortunately, I'm not going to make it there. So you guys are going to have to get there on your own.
Yeah.
And so we've had other shepherds, if you will, who have been taking us down that road. And I think someone like Kamala Harris can help us go further in that direction. What do you think?
I think so too, Philly G. I'm so thrilled that she is on the ticket as the vice presidential nominee.
Yes.
I think that I have had the chance to meet her personally. Oh my goodness. So I talk about my wife. So my wife is on the far right, far left.
Yes, that's Kamala's husband. What's his name? I forget.
And that's Doug.
Yes.
So my wife was a police officer. She's currently in the division that does dignitary protection. So anytime Kamala Harris comes to town, she is on her team.
Yay.
So she's worked with her ever since she became a senator here in the state of California. And I have had the chance to meet her through my wife on more than one occasion. And every time since the first time, I've said, hi, I'm Layla's wife. She has just been beyond kind and warm. And it's so nice when you don't know somebody, like you hope they're going to be a nice person in real life. Sure. I can tell you from my experience that warmness and kindness was genuine. And she didn't have to be that kind to me or that warm to me or hug me. She's a hugger. Oh my goodness. How can you not like a hugger? That's on the other side.
I like huggers.
But on top of whatever personal story or instance I might have had the chance to meet with her to reinforce that she's a good person, she's also brilliant at what she does. She's a badass lady, a tough lady. She is a badass. And so I think that it's going to take a badass to take down number 45. And so I am ready for these next 80 days. And then I'm ready for the next 4 years after that. And I'm claiming success in advance. And I would like to do what I can to spread the good word about the Biden-Harris ticket. Now, granted, it might not, for some people, it might not be the most ideal of what they wanted, but it could be any combination and somebody got something to say or something to complain about. Now, honestly, I didn't vote for Biden in the primaries.
Right.
I'm ready to see a woman in the White House. I voted for Elizabeth Warren. I didn't vote, didn't have a chance. In terms of the running, in my heart, I voted for Kamala. But he had amazing women to choose from. And my heart absolutely leaped when he chose Kamala. I think she's ready. I think she's ready if anything happened to Biden to be in the White House. And what an amazing image and representation. We talked about that earlier, to have a Black woman in the White House.
I agree, but can I just, I'm going to stop you for a second. I've heard this a couple of times now, and I don't really like it. And you just said
Okay.
it, and I'm not taking you to task at all, but I've just heard it because I think it's a narrative from people who aren't necessarily nice. Um, Talking about Joe Biden ain't going to make it. What's that? Joe Biden's fine. You know, I haven't heard anything that he's sick, right? I mean, he's not in the public eye that much, probably because he has a propensity to say things that he could trip over his own feet. But I haven't heard that he's sick, and he's going to make it through this term. What we need from the Biden campaign and the Biden presidency is a return to the American way, not the false American way, this materialistic, I'm out for me American way that we have right now. We need the infrastructure, bill to pass so that we can rebuild our country. We need justice reform so that everybody's treated equally. We need sympathy for each other. We need cultural understanding. I'm going to tell you something that you don't know. I am married to a Japanese woman, and we have 3 kids, and they're little happas, and they're running around, and it's awesome. I love the fact that I'm sharing in what I think is the future of our country. If we're all going to get along, right, we need to be more understanding. And you are part of many communities personally, right? You have a wife, you're interracial. I mean, you're swimming in a lot of pools.
I check a lot of boxes.
Right. And that's great. I think it's wonderful. I respect it and I encourage it because I think that's when I talked about, Dr. King and he looked over the other side and he saw everybody getting along and respecting each other. I think that's part of is that social understanding and being open to the possibilities. All right. You don't have to join a community that you don't want to, but you have to at least respect the fact that I want to and not give me shit for it. Right.
Yeah. Yes, I definitely agree. And I apologize just in case I didn't want to be offensive at all about my Joe Biden comment. But
no.
that was only in recognition that he would be the oldest person ever.
I know, but I've just heard it.
You're
not the first person that I've heard it from, and she's only announced like 2 days ago.
Well, I do think no matter how old the president is, I know the vice presidential pick has to be someone who's ready to step in, no matter what.
Without question.
So I think that she's definitely ready for that task. And in terms of love and compassion and unity, yes to all of that. I think that's where we need to evolve. I have a friend who teaches compassion. Hello, Sarah Shire, and even Corey Tyler. He's got a new compassion course. But Wayne Dyer, God bless his soul, talked about compassion. And he said, if you taught compassion in the schools, that would eradicate, I don't even know exactly what he said, but like war or gang, or he said gangs, but either way, he said a lot of bad shit that people get into in the future. You eradicate that when you teach compassion in the schools. And compassion, I think, allows me to see you, Philly G, that part of you that transcends you as a man, you as white, you as a Valley kid. It allows me to connect in that space. And I think if we could do that as a society, mic's drop, worlds are changing. We are on the other side of that mountaintop. I would love to see that happen. Because you're right, I don't have to be gay to appreciate gay people. No, but if I have that compassion, I see that spark or that light in you, and I say, flame on, do your thing, without judgment or misunderstanding or fear. And I think we've got a lot of that. And I think that's because of the current tone. It is controlled by fear and not by that love and compassion, which is where I would like to go, and which is where I think the Biden years could at least take us more in that direction instead of the direction we're going now.
Yeah, we need to make a U-turn right now.
Yeah, we do.
Right. I think it's weird, now that we are in the Hollywood community, I'm going to just say you are part of the Hollywood elite community. You know what I mean? I mean, just by definition, you share very progressive values, right? You're in a community that traditionally and historically, for good reason, supports Democratic candidates and puts a lot of money behind those candidates because they're really the values that our party stands for are really about sharing and caring.
Yes.
Sharing and caring.
Sharing and caring. And then we also, the whole Democratic Party looks like America. Yeah. I can't get down if there's nobody that looks like me. and that
right.
What's going on? And I'm not saying that I don't agree with any Republican values or stances. And I'm not saying that I check every single box that a Democrat does. In fact, I think we need to do away with the two-party system because it's not about checks and boxes. Right. And we've evolved since it was first created. I think there is a much better blend and representation of the American people.
Yeah.
But what we have now for 2020, I can get down much easier with a beautiful, multi-religious, multi-sexual orientation, multi-gender, multi-ethnic group, whatever, versus a very monolithic white, predominantly white man Christian group. It's no comparison for me in terms of where my allegiance would be. I'd love to see us move further to blending something, but for right now, I know where my heart goes.
Yeah. And I think it's people like you. And that's exactly why I had you on the show today in a hurry, because you preach in those words really, I hope, enters the hearts of the people who will listen, might be listening right now, but who will listen later on. And as we repeat those words and as we live those values, then our society will change for the better. And I think as we get away from materialism, right, this whole focus on the stock market and, the car I'm driving and all that kind of stuff, those are kind of like false idols, if you will, in the sense that we need to get post World War II when everyone had their home in this middle class lifestyle and we're all good. I had a union job. I had a house. I had somewhere to go. My kids went to school. As far as I know, that's the American dream. The American dream can never be, I need an Aston Martin to roll into my house in Bel Air. That's nice, I guess, right? But that's not really doing anything for you if you're empty, here.
Agreed. And I think just like we talked about the entertainment industry, images, and this secret indoctrination of our mind of programming about different groups of people. The same thing happens with materialism. We are just secretly programmed. Every ad we click on online, every commercial, it's like secretly putting this little seed of oh yeah, you do need that Aston Martin after all. And a lot less of, you know what, here, go out and run and get some sunshine, spend some time with your family, because I think sunshine and family ain't making nobody money. So I think a lot of the forces that are at the receiving end to the materialism, they're not trying to make that change. But it is up to us as the people to declare, you know what, that's not important. What's important is how I feel about myself on the inside. What's important is the books that I read, or the friends that I spend time with, or the good wine I drink, or whatever it is that floats your boat that's not rooted in the biggest house or the biggest mansion. And what's really interesting, Philly G, also,
let's hear it.
When you concentrate on your true passion, that's not rooted in money, or your goal is that and not the money comes after. Or does that make sense what I'm trying to say? Where the material isn't the goal. If you completely change your life and your mindset and your thinking, and something else is the goal that's rooted in making the world a better place and filling your heart, that stuff's not important anymore, but that's when the stuff comes.
Right.
I don't know how to describe it. And I'm not saying that I'm filthy rich now, because I'm still a work in progress in terms of honoring those things that really make me happy and finding those things that really make me happy. But I know that, there are a lot of hidden hands going on in this thing called life, and we just got to take our power back.
right? Until our last day, right? We try to be the best that we can be.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a book by Marcus Aurelius, how he talks about like the Stoic philosophy. I don't want to get too deep into it, but it's having a purposeful life, right? And if you're an actress or whatever it is that you're doing, do it with purpose, 100%, and avoid what he says are two things, if you don't mind me sharing, right?
Sure.
You want to avoid pleasure. You don't want to indulge too much into that, distraction. And then you want to avoid anger. He just saw those two as the things that get you off of your track. Focus on your task, and you're going to you'll be great. It will definitely help you get further down the road than looking some of those things, like when we say pleasure, right? The Austin Martins and trying to get the big house and all that kind of stuff. Those are distractions from things that don't necessarily get you where you want to go. The wanting of things doesn't get you the things. And what you just said so profoundly is it's the effort of you doing whatever it is that you do that will get you those things. It's not the effort to get those things that gets you those things.
Yeah, it's crazy how it all works. And then it's work to detach yourself from the outcome. Yeah. Or like say, okay, I'm doing something that makes me happy. When is my Aston Martin coming?
Right.
So yeah.
It should be a side effect. It's a manifestation of a job well done, right? It's the reward for you being at the highest level of whatever it is that you're doing.
Absolutely. And whenever you do acquire that house or that Aston Martin or whatever, fill in the blank, that still's not going to guarantee happiness.
No.
Or you might be happy for the first month you got it, but then it's going to be something else. So not putting who you are, your fulfillment or your joy in something that can easily be taken away. It's got to be something more meaningful than that.
Like your family, like your beautiful wife, right?
Like your beautiful wife.
Yeah. Can I show a picture? You sent me the picture. I didn't put it up, but I'm like, maybe I should. Maybe I should. Okay. Are you ready? Tell us a little bit about this day. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Oh, that looks like my wedding day. Yeah. We've been married for 3 years. We got married at destination wedding in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. It was a magical day to say the least.
It looks like you guys are having fun.
We have a great time together. She is, a proud member of Los Angeles Police Department. We are very different on so many levels. But I think that that's what makes it work. And that's what also makes us both grow. So in terms of having fun together and in terms of having a business together, because I think it's fun to create something with your partner together. So she loves music, loves to DJ, and I love to talk, and you just hand me a microphone and I'm ready to go.
Right.
So together we just formed Cashmere and Gold Entertainment. So that's where we come together and bring to life your party, whether it's a corporate huge event or whether it's your backyard barbecue. Just hire us and we'll show up. So this picture, though,
yes.
So it's COVID. It's a pandemic. Nobody's having these events anymore. So during the super lockdown, where we weren't allowed to leave our homes, this is from our balcony in Long Beach. We live in Long Beach, and we decided to set up outside. And at 8:00 every night, our downtown community would come outside, yell, scream, and say thank you to healthcare workers, those on the front line. So we decided to add music to that festival and celebration. Yeah. So she would set up, we play for 30 minutes. I'd say some nice words on the end, and that became our tradition during that super duper lockdown time. So so that's us as Cashmere and Gold.
That's go ahead.
Nope.
In Long Beach, I don't know if you're aware, there are many awesome record stores.
Really?
Yes. So we could talk about it after. No one wants to hear that right now. But if you guys are into music, I mean, there's some really cool places that you guys should Fingerprint Records, one of them. But there's a lot of awesome places. Long Beach is a great community.
It is.
And look at you on your boat.
Yes, it's so great that the marina's down there, and we recently bought a boat. We bought a Duffie boat, which is one of those putter around, you just chilling, hanging out with your friends kind of boats. And she loves to smoke cigars and I love to drink wine. So we are going to start to offer cigar experiences for those who want to learn how to smoke or who already know how to smoke and just want a different atmosphere. And I'm going to do a wine tasting experience, because what better place to taste wine than on the water? And then there's also just a general tour of the beautiful area, because where our boat is parked is like around the Queen Mary, the aquarium. So there are lots of tourist attractions down there to point out. And so that's our little boat in the back. It's cashmere and gold. I guess we named the boat after what our company name is. She's the gold because she's super fancy. I'm cashmere because I'm soft but strong. It was also my line name for my sorority. I'm a member of Delta Sigma Theta sorority, and cashmere is my line name. So that's how we got cashmere and gold. But either way, that's our boat, and we cannot wait to host folks to have fun. Again, COVID came, which kind of changed things, but we didn't originally get the boat to make money. We got the boat because it was an opportunity that came up, and we just wanted to just have that as part of our experience. But what I realized as an actor is the toughest part is waiting on your phone to ring, waiting on somebody to give you a job, waiting on that audition. So why not Janora have her own one-woman show that she controls when she does? So this is my way to still perform, enjoy people, enjoy being outside, but under my rules, and me as the boss instead of waiting on somebody else to give me a job. So this boat literally was a boat in terms of saving myself from drowning in this entertainment world that sometimes loves you and sometimes doesn't. So really excited about this new chapter that we have together as well.
I got to tell you what, for anybody who's watching, please leave a comment and let us know, how you liked our show. We've covered a lot of territory.
We did.
And shamelessly, if you need, a crew to come down and go on that boat and smoke cigars and drink some wine and bring a whole audience, you just let me know when. I'll show up.
All right, Philly G, you got it.
You have a beautiful smile. You have a great body of work. You have obviously a profound moral compass that is leading you, and you are hopefully helping to lead others in a direction of respect and peace and to that promised land. We're all part of that promise, aren't we?
Yeah, we are.
Yeah. And so I really appreciate you being on the show today. Our community is blessed to have had you here today. I want everybody to know that you can find Janora on Instagram and in fact, we'll put up in the comments later where everybody could find you. If you want to say really quickly where people could find you, go ahead.
Yeah, on Twitter and Facebook, I'm at Janora Mcduffie, and on Instagram, which I am most active on right now, it is at J McDeezie. That's JMCD as in dog, EEZIE.
Hold on, watch this. In real time, everybody.
Bam!
Did I spell it right?
Yeah, that is.
Let's do the other one too. At J McDeezie.
McDeezie.
DZZ. If you teach me how to spell it right, then everyone else is going to spell it right. Go ahead. Tell me one more time.
JMCD.
Yep.
EEZIE.
Oh, see, I told you I'm not that bright. Watch this. Boom. Yay.
Bam! That's it. That is it. Please follow me. And I equally send you back all the love you have given to me this past hour. Not just to you, but to Argentum studio as well. I have been going to Argentum for a decade. and I know that as times change, we all evolve. So I know that you guys do a whole number of things now instead of just headshot reproduction. I recently went when things were open to get a self-tape done. You guys have always been professional and kind. So thank you all on that end as well, and for having this platform to share stories and to connect us all.
Yes,
Thank
and
you.
we look for. I hope you will come back again, and I hope we could work together at some point. We talked about that off the air, but I hope something will work out so that we could bring all of the talents that you bring to bear and do it in a way that more people can see it. We want to see more of you. I do.
Hey, me too. Let's do it, Philly G.
All right. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Everybody, thank you for tuning into the show. This is Philly G, and we will see you later. Thank you, and have a great day, right?